August 30th, 1997, 7 p.m, Balmoral Castle, Scotland. The phone rang in the room where Prince William and Prince Harry were staying. It was their mother, calling from Paris. The princes had been expecting her call. Diana called them every night when they were apart. This was routine, normal, just another goodnight call. But this would be the last time William and Harry would ever hear their mother's voice. The last words Diana would ever speak to her sons. What happened in that conversation would haunt William and Harry for the rest of their lives. But what was truly shocking wasn't what Diana said. It was what she didn't get to say. To understand the weight of this final call, you need to understand Diana's relationship with her sons. They were everything to her purpose, her joy, the reason she kept fighting. William and Harry gave Diana's life meaning when everything else felt empty. No matter how bad things got with Charles, with the palace, with the media, Diana had her boys, and she protected them fiercely, loved them unconditionally, made sure they knew every single day that they were her world. Diana had been separated from William and Harry for most of August. They were at Balmoral Castle with the royal family, the annual summer gathering. Diana hadn't been invited. She was divorced now, no longer part of the family. So while William and Harry were in Scotland with their father, grandmother, and extended relatives, Diana was in the Mediterranean with Dodi. It was the longest Diana had been away from her sons. She hated it, called them every day, sometimes multiple times, just to hear their voices, to know they were okay, to tell them she loved them. The summer of 1997 had been difficult for William and Harry. Their parents' divorce had been finalised the year before. They were adjusting to a new reality, 2 homes, divided time, the tension of being caught between parents who clearly hated each other. William, at 15, understood more. He saw the media coverage, the competing narratives, the way his parents used the press to fight each other. He tried to protect Harry, who was only 12, tried to shield him from the worst of it, but Harry knew something was wrong, could feel the instability, the fear. Diana knew her sons were struggling. She tried to make their time with her special, fun, normal. She took them to theme parks, to McDonald's, 2 movies. She wanted them to have experiences other kids had, not just royal duties and protocol. Diana believed William and Harry needed to understand the real world, to connect with normal people, to see how others lived. Charles thought this was inappropriate, dangerous even. But Diana insisted, "My boys will not grow up in a bubble. They'll understand their privilege and their responsibility." The last time Diana had seen William and Harry was in early August. She had taken them to the south of France. They spent time on Mohammed Al Fayed's yacht. William and Harry met Dodi. They got along fine, nothing special, just their mother's new friend. The boys were polite but reserved. They had seen Diana date before, knew not to get too attached. After a few days, William and Harry left for Balmoral. Diana continued her vacation with Dodi. She promised to call every day, promised to be home soon, promised they would spend the last weeks of summer together before school started. Diana kept her promise. She called religiously, every evening. Sometimes the conversations were brief. "How was your day? What did you do? I love you. See you soon." Other times, Diana talked longer, especially with William. She would ask about his feelings, how he was handling things, if he was okay. William was protective of his mother, tried to be strong for her, but Diana could hear the strain in his voice, the weight he was carrying, being the future king, being the eldest son of a broken marriage. It was too much for a 15-year-old. On August 30th, Diana called from the Ritz Hotel in Paris. She and Dodi had just arrived. They were having dinner. Diana stepped away to call her sons. It was around 7 p.m. in Scotland. The boys were in their room, probably getting ready for dinner themselves. The phone rang. Harry answered. "Mummy!" His voice was happy, excited. He missed his mother. Diana felt her heart swell. "Hello, my darling." How are you? How's Balmoral? The conversation started normally. Harry told Diana about his day. He had been fishing with Prince Philip, had caught something, was excited about it. Diana listened, asked questions, laughed at Harry's enthusiasm. She could picture him, his face animated, his eyes bright, her baby, growing up so fast, too fast. Diana wanted to reach through the phone and hug him, hold him, tell him everything would be all right. But she just listened, smiled, cherished these ordinary moments. Then Harry passed the phone to William. "Hello, Mum." William's voice was different, older, more guarded. Diana noticed immediately. "Are you okay, darling?" William hesitated. "I'm fine, just tired." Diana wasn't convinced. "You don't sound fine, talk to me." But William wouldn't, or couldn't. He was at Balmoral, surrounded by family, by staff. Privacy was impossible, and William had learned to be careful, to not say things that could be overheard, used against him, leaked to the press. Diana tried a different approach. "I'll be home soon. We'll have time together, just us. We can talk about everything then." William sounded relieved. "When are you coming home?" Diana paused. She hadn't decided exactly. Dodie wanted to stay in Paris another day, maybe longer. But Diana missed her sons, wanted to see them. Tomorrow or the day after. I promise. No later than that. William seemed satisfied. "Okay. I love you, Mum." Diana felt tears prick her eyes. "I love you too, darling. So much. More than you know." But here's the tragic detail. Both William and Harry were distracted during the call. They were on holiday, with cousins, activities planned. The call from their mother was routine, expected. They loved her, missed her, but they were also 15 and 12. They had other things on their minds. They didn't savor every word, didn't memorize her voice, didn't know this was the last time. So when Diana said "I love you," they said it back. But quickly, perfunctorily, ready to end the call and return to whatever they were doing. Diana felt it, the dismissiveness, the hurry. She wanted to keep them on the phone longer, to talk more, to connect deeply. But she also understood. They were kids, on holiday. They didn't need their mother being clingy. So Diana let them go. "All right, my darlings. Have a good evening. Be good. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Love you." And the boys said "love you too," and hung up. The call lasted maybe 5 minutes, 10 at most. Nothing special, nothing profound, just an ordinary goodnight call. Except it wasn't ordinary. It was the last. Diana sat in her hotel room after the call, feeling empty, sad. She missed her boys so much it physically hurt. She wanted to be with them, not in Paris with Dodie, not on yachts or in fancy restaurants, just home, in Kensington Palace, with William and Harry, watching movies, playing games, being together. Diana told Dodie, "I need to go home. I need to see my boys." Dodie understood, or said he did. After dinner, after tonight, they would make plans to return to London. But Diana never made it home, never saw her sons again, never got to have that conversation with William where he opened up about what was bothering him, never got to hug Harry, never got to keep her promise. 8 hours after that phone call, Diana was in a Mercedes being chased through Paris. 16 hours after the call, she was dead. And William and Harry woke up on August 31st expecting their mother to call later that day, expecting to see her soon, not knowing they would never hear her voice again. The news reached Balmoral early on August 31st. Around 4 a.m., Prince Charles was woken by his private secretary. There had been an accident. Diana was injured, possibly dead. Charles was in shock. The Queen was informed. The household went into crisis mode. But no one knew how to tell William and Harry. How do you tell children their mother is dead? How do you find the words? Prince Charles decided to let them sleep. They would learn soon enough. Let them have a few more hours of peace. William and Harry woke up around 7 a.m. They went downstairs for breakfast. Not knowing anything was wrong. The staff knew. The family knew. But the boys were in a bubble of ignorance, living in a world where their mother was still alive, still planning to come home, still just a phone call away. Prince Charles found them, took them aside, sat them down, and destroyed their world. There's been an accident. Your mother. She was in a car crash in Paris. I'm so sorry she didn't survive. William's first response was disbelief. Number. That's not possible. I just talked to her last night. She's fine. She's coming home. Charles shook his head. I'm sorry. It's true. William felt everything stop, the room spinning, his heart breaking. This couldn't be real. Couldn't be happening. His mother. Gone. Impossible. Harry was crying, asking questions. Is Mummy really dead? Is she not coming home? Charles tried to comfort them but didn't know how. He wasn't good at emotions, at grief, at being a father in crisis. In the days that followed, William and Harry replayed that final phone call obsessively, trying to remember every word, every nuance, torturing themselves with what they didn't say, what they should have said. Harry later revealed, if I'd known it was the last time I'd speak to my mother, I wouldn't have been so impatient to get off the phone. I would have told her how much I loved her, how much she meant to me, how much she meant to me, how lost I'd be without her. But I was just a kid. I didn't know. How could I have known? William's guilt was more complex. He was older, more aware. He knew his mother was unhappy, struggling. He had tried to be strong for her, to support her, but he also resented the burden, resented having to be the parent sometimes, having to comfort his mother when she was sad, having to hear about her problems with Charles. William was 15. He wanted to be a kid, not his mother's therapist. And in that final call, he had been distant, guarded, had rushed her off the phone. Now he would give anything to have that time back, to talk to her properly, to tell her he loved her, to say goodbye. The content of that final call has never been fully disclosed. William and Harry have kept most of it private. It's theirs, sacred. The last words their mother spoke to them, but both have shared fragments over the years. Diana told them she loved them, told them she'd be home soon, told them to be good, ordinary mother things. Nothing profound, nothing prophetic. She didn't know she was saying goodbye, so she didn't say anything special. And that's what makes it unbearable. The ordinariness, the assumption of more time, more calls, more chances to say I love you. In the years since, both William and Harry have struggled with that final call. William has been more private about his grief. He processes internally, doesn't talk publicly about his emotions. But those close to him say he carries tremendous guilt, feels he failed his mother in that last conversation, didn't give her the warmth she needed, didn't tell her explicitly how much she meant to him. William has become a devoted father partly to compensate, to give his children what he couldn't give his mother: complete, unconditional, expressed love. Every day, every moment. Harry has been more open. He's spoken in interviews about the trauma of that final call, about the therapy he's needed to process it, about the years of suppressed grief that eventually consumed him. Harry says the phone call haunts him, that he hears his mother's voice, remembers the conversation, wishes desperately he could go back and do it differently, stay on the phone longer, tell her he loved her more emphatically, ask her when exactly she'd be home, anything to have one more moment, one more word. The phone itself has become almost mythical. The actual phone Diana used to call from the Ritz, the phone William and Harry answered at Balmoral. These are objects of immense emotional weight. They represent the last connection, the last thread linking Diana to her sons, the last moment when everything was normal, before grief, before loss, before the world changed forever. Neither William nor Harry know what happened to those phones. They were just phones, ordinary hotel phones and house phones, used by thousands of people, not preserved as relics, lost to time. But the absence of the physical phone doesn't diminish the memory. William and Harry carry that conversation with them always. It's replayed in their minds constantly, analysed, dissected, mourned. They hear their mother's voice, her laugh, her questions, her love, and they hear themselves, impatient, distracted, eager to end the call. And that's what they have to live with. Not that they were bad sons, they weren't. They loved their mother deeply, but that in that final moment they didn't know it was final, so they treated it as ordinary. And now ordinary is all they have. And it's not enough. The psychological impact of that final call cannot be overstated. For William and Harry, their mother's death wasn't just loss. It was interrupted connection, unfinished business, words unsaid, love unexpressed. They were robbed of goodbye, of closure, of the chance to prepare emotionally. One moment their mother was alive and coming home. The next, she was gone forever. That kind of sudden traumatic loss changes people, shapes them. William's need for control and privacy, Harry's rebellion and therapy, both can be traced back to that phone call and what came after. Prince Charles has admitted he didn't handle the boy's grief well. He was dealing with his own complicated feelings about Diana's death, guilt over how he'd treated her, relief that the conflict was over, grief that was unexpected and intense. He didn't have the emotional tools to help his sons. So William and Harry were left to process their trauma largely alone, surrounded by palace staff who were kind but formal, by family who believed in stiff upper lips and private grief. The boys needed to talk, to cry, to rage. Instead, they were told to be strong, to represent the family, to walk behind their mother's coffin in front of the world. The funeral made everything worse. 6 days after that final phone call, William and Harry walked behind Diana's coffin. Through the streets of London. 1 million people watching, cameras recording every moment. The boys were destroyed inside. Empty. Number. But they had to maintain composure, had to be dignified, had to perform grief appropriately for public consumption. William later said, "It was the hardest thing I've ever done, walking behind my mother's coffin while the world watched. I wanted to scream, to run, to disappear. But I had to keep walking, keep my face neutral, keep representing the family. I was 15 and I was dying inside." Harry's memory of the funeral is even darker. He says he didn't cry, couldn't cry, was in shock, disassociated. He looked at his mother's coffin and couldn't believe she was inside. It didn't seem real. The whole day didn't seem real. Harry describes it as watching himself from outside his body, going through motions, following protocol, but not actually present, not actually processing what was happening. It would take him 20 years to actually grieve properly, 20 years of suppressed emotion, destructive behaviour, before he could finally face what he lost that night in Paris. The flowers at Kensington Palace, the tributes, the global mourning. All of it felt surreal to William and Harry. The world was grieving their mother, but the world didn't really know her. Not like they did. The world knew Princess Diana, the icon, the humanitarian, the fashion legend. William and Harry knew Mummy, the woman who hugged them tight, who sneaked them sweets, who let them stay up late watching movies, who made them laugh, who told them she loved them every single day, except for that last day, when there was no more time. In the decades since Diana's death, William and Harry have tried to honour her memory. They've continued her charitable work, spoken about her publicly, made sure the world doesn't forget, but privately they still struggle with that final phone call, with the guilt, the regret, the unbearable ordinariness of it. If they had known, they would have said different things, been different people in that moment, but they didn't know, couldn't know. And that's what makes loss so cruel. We don't get to choose our final moments with people, don't get to prepare the perfect goodbye. Life just ends, mid-conversation, mid-relationship, mid-everything. Harry has said that losing his mother taught him to tell people he loves them. Often, explicitly. Never assume there's more time. Never assume they know. Say it. Every time. This philosophy has shaped how Harry parents his own children, how he relates to his wife. He learned from the worst possible teacher, regret, that love must be expressed, cannot be assumed, must be spoken, because you never know when it will be the last time. William has internalized a different lesson. He protects his family fiercely, controls their exposure, limits risk. He's terrified of his children experiencing what he experienced, of sudden traumatic loss, of regret and unanswered questions. So William manages everything carefully, sometimes too carefully. He's been criticized for being controlling, for limiting Kate and the children's freedom. But it comes from fear, from trauma, from the knowledge that safety is an illusion and loss can come at any moment. From any phone call that seems ordinary but turns out to be the last. The ultimate tragedy of the final phone call is how preventable Diana's death was. If she had worn a seatbelt, if the driver hadn't been drunk, if the paparazzi hadn't chased them, if they'd stayed at the hotel, if Diana had listened to her instinct to go home, so many small decisions that could have changed everything. And William and Harry have to live with those what-ifs. What if their mother had come home when she wanted to? What if she'd never gotten in that car? What if they'd begged her to come home immediately during that call? Would she have listened? Could they have saved her? The questions are endless, unanswerable, torturous. There's audio speculation over the years that the phone call was recorded, that intelligence services or the hotel or someone monitored it. This has never been confirmed. If a recording exists, it's never been released. William and Harry would surely have it destroyed if they knew about it. That conversation is theirs, private, sacred, the last piece of their mother they have that's just for them. The thought of it being recorded, listened to, analysed by strangers would be a final violation of Diana's privacy. And theirs. What's certain is that the memory of that call lives in William and Harry's minds. They've replayed it thousands of times, tried to remember exact words, exact tone, tried to hear their mother's voice clearly. But memory fades, changes, becomes unreliable. They fear someday they won't remember her voice at all, won't remember exactly what she said, won't be able to hear her in their minds. That's what time does. It erodes even our most precious memories. And for William and Harry, that final call is the most precious memory they have. And they're losing it, slowly, inevitably, to time and trauma and the unreliability of human memory. From Prince Harry's therapy session, years later, as reported in his memoir, I close my eyes and I can still hear her voice. "Hello, my darling. How are you? How's Balmoral?" That's how the call started. I said something about fishing, something ordinary. She laughed. I can hear that laugh, but it's fading. I'm terrified I'll forget it completely. That one day I'll try to remember and there will be nothing. Just silence where her voice used to be. That's what grief does. It steals even your memories. I would give anything to have that call back, to do it differently, to stay on the phone for hours, to tell her everything, to say I love you 100 times instead of just once, to keep her talking so she'd never hang up, never get in that car, never leave us. But I was 12. I didn't know. How could I have known that would be the last time? How do you prepare for goodbye when you don't know it's coming? The final image of the phone call story is from years later. William and Harry at Diana's memorial. They're adults now, but they're still those boys, still processing that loss, still carrying that final conversation. They speak about their mother, about her love, her warmth, her dedication to them. They don't mention the phone call specifically, that's private. But it's there, in every word they say, every memory they share. The knowledge that the last thing they said to their mother was ordinary. expected. Not nearly enough. They speak so others will know how much Diana loved her children, how present she was, how devoted. They speak because Diana can't anymore, because that phone call ended, and she never got to make another one. And William and Harry have to live with that, forever. Knowing the last conversation was rushed, incomplete, insufficient, but all they have, all they'll ever have. And they have to make it enough. Have to make those few minutes last a lifetime. Have to remember every word, every tone, every second, because it's all that's left, and it has to be enough, even though it never can be.